Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at playoff props here, Nate, on a Monday night with 2 games in the NBA playoffs as we roll along here. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We've also got a best bets video up about this night, so you can go ahead and check that out. Continue to follow along with us as we roll through these playoffs to the end with you guys. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out all of the great written content we are putting up on the site right now and use that odds finder tool up there. Make sure that you're getting the best odds available to you from all of these books giving us bets in the NBA postseason. Running through how we did on Friday night, Nate, 3-1, had a great night there. A couple of unders. Clay did not get to his points despite having 22 through 3 quarters. That was the only one we got wrong. And then a tougher weekend on those picks there, but we didn't have quite as much time to look at those, didn't know the lineups. We're pretty happy to get ahead of this stuff for you guys on Monday, though, as we jump right back into our first prop from that Sixers and Celtics game, Nate.
Yeah, I'm going back to the head-to-head props here on DraftKings. I think there's a lot to like in this game, including like Marcus Smart being plus 10 or 11 to score within some Sixers guys. But what I'm looking at here struck me is Tatum to hit more threes than Tyrese Maxey, plus 110. And Tyrese Maxey is not a three-point shooter, first and foremost. Like, he's improved, and it's impressive to see that on the road this year, he actually hit 48%. He hit 3 a game. That seems like, cool. That's cool. You haven't done that against Boston at all, and you're 3 for 14 this season against Boston. You struggled badly throughout your career against Boston, hitting less than a 3 per game at 30%, and has only hit 2 twice and went 5 for 7 just one time when there was no Marcus Smart playing and Dennis Schroeder was the guy starting at point guard. Boston clearly has a pretty good playbook for guarding Maxey, and even if he does have a great game, I think it's going to be more of his transition opportunities and attacking the rim than becoming a three-point shooter all of a sudden. And without Embiid, you look at that actually helps his three-point shooting more than anything. In the playoffs, at least what we've seen is with Embiid last round, games 2 and 3, Maxey went 11 for 21. In the game without him, he only got 4 attempts off and went 1 for 4 because they were like, all right, we have, it's a completely different approach. Embiid obviously pulls the gravity and then you're getting open looks. Same thing last year. Embiid missed the first 2 against Miami. Maxey went 2 for 10. Embiid returns in game 3. He hits 5 threes, 5 for 6 all of a sudden. I don't really need to talk much about Jayson Tatum. We know that he is a prolific three-point shooter. I'll just say that he has at least 3 in 9 of his last 11 playoff games. Pretty much averages 3.5 against the Sixers at a 45% clip in the playoffs. Pretty much averages 3.5 in any situation you want to look at, especially at home where he's averaging 32 points a game this season. So, he's going to be firing. He definitely was cooking against Atlanta, so he's seeing the basket well right now. I think there's a very, very good chance that he hits more threes than Maxey in this game 1.
For plus money, I don't hate it. It's just interesting because we're on a little bit, we're basically in agreement that 2 of the 3, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, are going to put up numbers for this team. Maybe all 3, but at least 2 of the 3. We both seem to think slightly differently. I actually believe in Maxey in this one a little bit more than I believe in Harden. And that is my first pick there is actually a Harden under 22.5 points, which you can still get for about minus 104 on FanDuel right now. Still pretty good odds there, according to our props finder tool there. I would say that, for this one, the reason I'm going under Harden is just the playoffs. I just kind of continue to fade him. I hated what I saw in that matchup against Brooklyn in the first round as well, where he shot 34% from the field. He did make 42% from 3 with 3.3 of them a game. Also believe he benefits a ton from JoJo being in there, and also just looking at how he scored all those threes. He only made 3 in one other game. He made 7 in game 1 with Joel in there, obviously, and then that really distorted his numbers for the rest of the series, where he was basically making 2 of them a game. Against the Celtics, he's had good games in the past. I agree. The first 2 of this season being that, and then the second 2 going under this total for him against the C's. So really good backcourt defensively for the Celtics. We know that at this point with Derek White coming in and being what he's been on defense just makes the tandem, if you will, of he and Smart, and then you throw in the other guys, obviously between the Jayson and Jalen's, and they're really good at locking down that position. I still think they can go over with two of those guys getting 20 plus points, and Harden can still get 20 points, have a very good game, probably put up more assists. He's only at eight and a half assists, is pretty high plus money for him. If you do think that he's going to be able to continue to do that and look for that, I hope that he does. I mean, they're a better team when he's James Harden, the point guard and facilitator. I know he's going to need to score more points for them to win, but I still don't think that he's going to be able to do that without Joel in there to help him with that pick and roll. He's just not the same guy. I've been enjoying a little bit of fading he and LeBron James in these playoffs and their points specifically, because it just sometimes it takes a lot of effort in the playoffs to get more points. You're working a lot harder, and those legs look a lot more tired and less capable. So I'm going to continue to fade him even without Joel at 22 and a half. I don't think we're going to see this at 22 and a half very often, especially if Joel is able to come back, and then if it gets down to 19 and a half, 18 and a half, even 20 and a half with for Harden's points prop, but Joel is in there, maybe I start looking at an over. But in this situation, I'm feeling better about the under.
To be clear, I don't think Maxi's going to flop. I think he's not going to hit 3+ threes.
Okay.
I'm not on board with this at all. I think James Harden, you see the prop being down on his assists, and that's very indicative that books know, okay, Embiid's out, fewer assists, more shot attempts from Harden. He might not be efficient, but he's going to get them up. He's going to get at least 10 threes up. He has played really well against the Celtics, despite the fact that they match up well, trying to deny him. His last 6 in the regular season, 26 a game, on 45% from deep, getting 8.5 free throw attempts, 130 offensive rating. I just compare that to the last 6 against Miami, which is the last time we saw him without Embiid struggling in the playoffs. And Miami has basically shut him down in the regular season, 17 points a game, 112 rating. This is not a Celtics defense that I'm overly impressed with after seeing Trae Young knife them up. And this is also game 1 and not game 6. I'm not banking on James Harden to stave off elimination here, right? We're just banking on him to come out in a free-flowing game where we both expect points, and for him to have a pretty nice game is similar, opening night when everyone's poo-pooing Harden because the last thing we saw was him suck in the playoffs last year. Opening night, he drops 34 on the Celtics and looked very spry, right? So, I could see him stepping up. Again, in a low-stakes situation, I do not want to take the under on Harden with the Sixers needing him to really revert back to form. But liking points here, I like another Celtic to score. Malcolm Brogdon, plus 102 for him to get 14 points. And he's just the guy off the bench, just obviously seeing big usage off the bench. Not even that big. 24% his last 5 against Atlanta, but he scores with incredible efficiency. I thought he was actually struggling in game 6, and I was like, oh man, I don't think that prop hit. Oh, never mind. He had a 138 offensive rating, and he scored 17, despite not really playing in the fourth quarter again, because Marcus Smart had it going. But in this matchup, he might play a lot more, and that, again, is a ripple effect from Embiid being out, right? His last 4 against the Sixers with the Celtics, he has 16 plus in 3 of the 4. The one he did not, he only played 21 minutes, because Boston was throwing everything at Embiid. Grant Williams played 30, Rob Williams played 32, Al played 31. The last meeting when Embiid had that 50-point ridiculousness, you saw Luke Cornett, Mike Muscala, Grant Williams in the game, and Brogdon still managed to get 18 points in 28 minutes. So even if they are throwing bigs out there, then he's even more of that focal point of the second unit, right? But if he gets the first unit, Maxey and Harden are weak defenders. If he gets the second unit, Philly has struggled to guard bench players, on the road. They're giving up 41 a game since the All-Star break to the bench, and also the 5th most free throw attempts. Brogdon is just great attacking the rim right now, and with no Embiid, that rim is more open.
For sure. It definitely is. And he's been really good going to the basket as well. I'd love to continue to find Brogdon at the right price, and 13 and a half points with plus money. Yeah, I think that's the right price for him. So I would agree with all of that as well. And I don't know, maybe he comes in to guard James Harden a little bit as well, although probably not quite as much. Either way, I'm going to finish things off with Toby Harris here. One more from this Celtics. And 76ers game, Tobias Harris, 16.5 points is actually the best you can find at minus 125 on DraftKings. You get also minus 125 on PointsBet. You could also get even money, though. If you add the rebounds there, you go 24.5 points and rebounds. That's even money on PointsBet if you want to get that. I also just considered, throwing a quarter unit on him to get 20 plus in this game because I do continue to like the over. And since I took an under on Harden's points, someone's got to get these points as well. And I do think that Tobias is easily capable of getting 20. It's not even that big of a boost in that juice there for him to get 20. Obviously, 3 more points than his prop is only plus 160, but I still think it's worth it there. And like I said, I think I found the best option for them to be most reliable when Joel Embiid is not on the floor, at least in part because the around the basket and where Joel Embiid stands is now much more open for Tobias Harris to do his work, where he loves the ball 18 feet out or starting on the 3-point line on one of the wings or near the baseline, pull up a mid-range from there, put up a little floater over someone that's smaller than him, or make the shot if you're not going to close out on him. And that's his space to work with when Joel's not there. And I think he'll continue to take advantage of that. This season without Joel, 21.5 points per game. He's one of those guys that he doesn't need Joel to be sucking in the defense to him to then kick it out so he can be open in that sense. Like, he can score with a little bit less space because he's like 6'9", and he's going to create that sort of size problem for people and shoot over them. So that's why I also think he's just a great bet to not need Joel to score as much. I really wish I would have picked him to be the guy scoring for them in that closeout game. We both talked about it briefly, but then I just went with Tyrese Maxey. But at 16.5 points, it's still a really, really good bet for him without JoJo. I mentioned in the best bets video, in the last 4 without Embiid, in the playoffs, 26 a game. In the last 4 without Embiid against Boston, also about 22 points per game. So you definitely like him to get close to, if not 20 points tonight, and feel pretty good that he's going to be the guy that they can rely upon to make sure that this game goes over like we think it will.
I do like this pick and will sign off on it because, we're not quite sure how Harden and Maxey are going to react in this situation to a degree. But Tobias Harris, there's a huge leap from being the 4th option, the stand in a corner guy, to being part of a triangle offense, right, from at least a balance standpoint, right? Where now you're involved, you're touching the basketball, you are creating, you're rebounding, making plays. I like the points and the rebounds here, that you do get even money for that. I think you can tack on 8 rebounds just fine. I think you can go for him to get 18 points too, bump it up 1 here, because it's just, he's going to be much more involved, and that confidence is everything in that sense. Without Embiid in there, I do think he will step up.
Totally. Yeah. Can I just throw one more Harden thing at you? He doesn't really score 23 points. I don't want to get back into it too much, but I think we're going to have some fun looking at that one tonight. Probably smack talking each other. We'll see. Either way, continue to follow along. That's all the time we have for you guys in the Play Up Props video today. We are coming back with some more for you guys on Tuesday as these playoffs roll along. So until we see you next, happy betting.